All right, parents, we're moving right along in the weekly challenge to build your confidence in having the sex talks. This is week 3, and this week it will be a little different, as this week's challenge isn't about having a specific sex talk with your kid, but about defining some of your family values around sex and sexuality. As parents, we have values that shape how we parent. These values guide our parenting style and may be influenced by our religion, culture, upbringing, and education. Whether we're aware of it or not, how we view the act of sex and aspects of sexuality are influenced by our values. Knowing what your values are and why you believe in those values will be a foundational cornerstone to the sex talks. I'm Kathleen, and I make videos for parents on how to have the modern day sex talks. Let's say, for example, that you believe that sex should only happen when two people love each other. That's a value. Now, there's nothing wrong or right about your value, but understanding that other people may or may not uphold that value is important to acknowledge. Another example would be if you believe that sex should only occur within the context of a marriage. That's a value, and there's nothing wrong or right about it, but other people may or may not uphold that value. Another example, you believe that purchasing sex is unhealthy. It's a value, and there's nothing right or wrong about it, but not everybody upholds that value. You get the idea. Yes, of course. When I was a sex ed teacher, I would teach hundreds of students each week without sharing my values around sex. In the sex ed I taught, I provided them with medically accurate and factual information. So when a value-based question or statement would arise in class, I would address it by acknowledging that it's a value and that people will have different morals or beliefs shaped by their culture, religion, or upbringing to whether they agree or disagree with that value. As a parent, do I have the sex talks with my own kids without sharing our family values? Of course I share our family values as a parent, and I do think it's important for parents to share their values with their kids. My consistent approach to the sex talks is to provide my kids with the medically accurate and factual information in an age-appropriate way first. That way they have the information that they need in order to take care of their sexual health. And then I share our family values. My partner and I were co-parenting, and we have discussed at length how we want to share our values. The vast majority of our values align, so we don't usually have to say, I believe this, and here's why, and your dad believes that, and here's why. If you are co-parenting, getting on the same page with your co-parent before starting to answer your kid's sex questions is beneficial. It ensures that your message will be consistent, no matter if your kid asks one parent or the other. So I'll give you an example here. Last week's video, we talked about discussing puberty changes. Let's say that you're having a conversation with your kid about menstrual products that collect the blood. You're explaining reusable pads, disposable pads, menstrual cups, period underwear, and tampons. Then you say to them, when it's time for you to start using menstrual products, you can try out all the different types of products that there are and then find what works best for you. However, your partner had already decided that they wanted the kid to use reusable pads and period underwear because they believed that would be what was best for the kid. If this confusion happens during the actual talk with the kid, the conversation derails and it becomes unfocused on the topic at hand and delivering that information to the kid, and more focused on the adults and their values. Talk with your co-parent about your values and why you believe what you believe. And if you're not sure how to start that conversation, let's get to the challenge. This week, I challenge you to address your values by answering these 10 questions, and then have your co-parent answer them as well, come together, and then discuss honestly why you believe what you believe. And then afterwards, talk about how you want to share these values with your kids. I'm going to give you 10 statements, and you're going to either agree or disagree. And then you're going to explain your position on it by saying, because I believe. So for example, with the first one, it says, children have bodily autonomy. You will say, I agree, children have bodily autonomy because I believe, and then blah, blah, blah. Share your value, your belief around that. Or you would say, I disagree, children do not have bodily autonomy because I believe, and then share your value. Got it? Now you may have to pause it after each one in order to have a conversation. At the end, I'll give you a screenshot of all of them, or all of the questions are listed in the description below. Do you agree or disagree? Children have bodily autonomy. A person's sexual orientation develops over time. It is acceptable to undress or shower in front of your children. Teaching kids about sex can prevent sexual abuse. A person's gender identity can align with their gender expression. A person's gender identity can be different to their gender expression. Explaining what is porn to a child encourages them to watch porn. Wearing sexy clothes means that the person wants to have sex. Having more than one sexual partner is okay. Sex is fun. Take some time to respond to these statements and then share your responses with your co-parent. If you can or want to, write your answers down. It can be helpful to have something to refer to when your kid asks a question like, do I have to give that person a hug? How do you know if you're a girl? Why do people have sex? Sharing your values is a normal thing that parents do, but taking the time to figure out why you uphold certain values isn't something that many parents do. So I challenge you to clearly articulate your values by answering these 10 sex questions over the next 7 days. I'm Kathleen, and of course I'll be back next week with challenge number 4. In the meantime, you can find me on social media or check out my shorts. That sounds weird.